Hi. Unfortunately, I won't have that many really nice examples like the colleagues from Cyprus. But I'll do my best not to be. I mean, given that we are a bit of a black sheep around here, I'll try to present first what my institute has been doing in HPC area in Croatia altogether, briefly, and then I'll focus on what we did as a NCC, or a competence center for high performance computing. I might be mixing those two terms because in the EuroCC project, we actually this year reached the 5 years. And we prefer this title NCC, which for normal people doesn't really mean much. It's just a National Competence Center, but for what? But anyhow, I apologize in advance if I'll just skipping between these two. So, first of all, a little bit of a few words about my institute. So, we have a really long tradition. In 2 years, we're gonna reach like 25 years of tradition in providing HPC services. The institute itself has been providing, actually, next year we're celebrating 55 years, which is really funny. I mean, they always come along and say, it's like, you've been providing the same service for 25 years. Shouldn't you put some new machinery in? It was like, no, no, it's always new ones. So anyhow, our primary customers are the academia and scientific community, and here are some numbers about what do we actually have in Croatia. So there's like 25 research institutes, one of them Ruđer Bošković, which you probably many of you already know. We have 20,000 researchers, and all of them are eligible to use the services. We have around 150 students. The research that we provide for that community is basically available for all of them, and there's like all kind of different things, and we've been providing services for them for a really long time. I'm gonna repeat the same thing if tomorrow. We like to put this slide because it kind of covers the whole thing that we provide to the community. So basically the whole research cycle. I'm not going to go through all the details, but we basically have two complementary services. One is the data repositories and something focusing on open science. I'll be talking about that tomorrow if you're going to be still around. So basically we are running a framework which is hosting pretty much all institutional data repositories, about 180 of them, with pile of different data inside, and we're trying to basically reuse the fact that we have all of them in one framework to easily integrate them in the Open Science Cloud or the EOSC infrastructure. On the other hand, we have the advanced computing stuff, where we have some infrastructure that we built over basically through one of the projects. So when Slovenia built Vega, we were focused on this thing, so we did not participate in EuroHPC at that point. Besides that, we also handle the AI infrastructure, so basically covering the whole Croatian identities, and we also have a Croatian science information system is hosted on our side, which basically allows us, and we also host the information system for higher education, which allows us basically to do a really nice integration. So the people, when they apply for our services, they don't have to type in, I come from here, blah, 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 blah. We basically just integrate all of these points, and it really comes out nicely when you're doing reporting, as I'll show you briefly. So with regard to, given that this is a supercomputing day, I'll view a little bit words on advanced computing. So in 23, we finally released the infrastructure, which was built as a part of a regional funds, no, European regional funds funded project, which goal was to create a cloud that should cover the academia and scientific community. And one of the services was the advanced computing. At that point, you had 7 petaflops, we had 1 petaflops, and it was a first petascale machine in Croatia. We also built a cloud thingy because nowadays we see, especially in the NCC, is that there are a lot of a lot of people thinking when they think about the HPC, they think, oh, just give me a bunch of really big VMs and then I'll be happy, which does not really fit nicely in the whole HPC story. So that's why we built two resources. One of them is one petascale, the other one has like 10,000 CPU cores, which are basically only used for calculating things. The other thing, when we built this infrastructure, and after 20 years working with the HPC, we realized that if you just give them the machines, it will not work because our usual customer is not an IT expert. It's not a computer scientist expert. So basically, they come with their I don't have a graph showing the. We also have basically we monitor how the people use our resources based on the scientific fields from where they come, and it's like 90% is the STEM. So it's basically chemistry, physics, mathematics, biology. And those people, they do not want to solve the complicated things like there was a really nice talk on how to use the AMD GPUs or how to optimize the NVIDIA. They don't want to care about any of those things. So what we did, we employed people who are basically compiling things for them. I think you have the similar thing on Vega because I've heard really nice stories about your support. So it's basically right now we have like 180 different scientific applications which are already installed in these machines. So when they come along, we just basically point them to the wiki page and say, this is how you run it. We also invested a lot of time in reporting. So after 5 years working as an NCC, in NCC or as an NCC manager, one of the things which I really don't like is that it's really difficult for me to get the numbers out of the Euro HPC resources. The numbers you get if you call one of them and then they show you the figures, or if you go on the Euro HPC meetings. Next one is on Cyprus. I'm really looking towards that one. See you there, guys. But anyhow, I mean, they do have reporting on a regular and extreme access, but you can't get the real numbers, like how many people actually applied for development and benchmark, because it was funny. We had last week, we had a similar event in Croatia, and the guy from EuroHPC was saying, yeah, you're not doing so well. And I was like, this is the first time I realized I have like 18 benchmark and development access cases, because we only had like I don't know, 10% of those coming or 20% of those coming through the NCC. The other ones were just, they bypassed us and went there directly. Why? Because if you're dealing with the SMEs, sometimes what you get with the benchmark and development is sufficient for what they needed. I still remember the presentation from our colleagues from Sweden. This was their modus operandi. They were basically, the NCC was registering for benchmarking and developing, and this was how they onboarded the SMEs and got their first results, which was really creative. But I mean, it's kind of a Balkan way of abusing a system. So that's why we focused on the reporting. So we provide annual reports. We have them for past 5 years, where we basically say this is how much resources was used by which institute, which project, which users, which funding stream, because we're connected with the information system for science. So we basically know, okay, this comes from this ministry, this comes from this EU stream, and so forth. So which is really cool, because when the ministry at the end of the year asks us, okay, so what have been you using our money for? And it's like, oh, there you go. You just look it by yourself, and it's fully transparent. Also, the other thing, and this is something on EuroHPC already had with Valder. You as a user, you can actually get how many resources you use. So that part was good with EuroHPC. So we replicated it in our system. We did develop our own system for all of you who were already on Austro-Slovenian, I didn't say Austro-Hungarian, Austro-Slovenian HPC event. We presented this framework earlier. What was it, in June? I can't remember. In Rimske Toplice. So anyhow, we present something similar to our users, and then finally there's a dashboard presenting overall access to our resources. My colleague Yona asked me to say a few words about the AI usage. So I'm still within the national tier 1 resource. So We all know, and I don't want to repeat it, most of the talks today were about the generative AI, and these figures represent, so the one on the top is the number of the projects that came to our resource per year, which is related to AI, and then the number of the users. So you can see the increase. And it's pretty clear that most of the people basically want to deal with the AI. That does not mean that the classical HPC is gone. That's not never going to be gone. But we can see from the trends that this is something that people are really interested into, and that's why most of you in the room are lucky, because you get the factory to handle all these increases that you can see everywhere. With regard to the use cases, what we've seen, there was of course a project doing the XR extensions for the Croatian language. And then we have really cool cases. One was related to the overall interesting the area of air combat, so optimizing your drones, especially if you have swarms. And then we also had protease biopsy, which falls into the health area. That doesn't cover the case that I mentioned before. And we had there's this big group handling the computer vision, which can be reused pretty much everywhere. With regard to the results of the HPC NCC or HPC Competence Center, it has been 5 years now. You've already heard, you pretty much in the room, I really hope that you already know what we do. In Croatia right now, there's 5 partners. We are a coordinator of the consortium, and we basically cover the major cities, Rijeka, Split, Osijek, and the 5th partner is basically the largest scientific institute in Croatia, which is Ruđer Bošković. The partners are also kind of the Faculty of Engineering in Zagreb, but because they have started the whole collaboration with EuroHPC, because they work on a project on building the European processors. So from the very beginning, the goal of the Competence Center was to become one-stop shop for HPC, which really sounds nice in theory, but to go a little bit in details in practice, I'll basically copy-paste what my colleague before me said. So it's all about dissemination. So I remember when I started working in HPC, when we organized the annual event, there was like, I could basically cut like these 2 and then a little half of this thingy, and in the room you had 10 people who understood what it is, and those people were from academia. So ever since we started in 2020, the idea was like, okay, let's try to push this whole story towards the wider public and explain how it's really important. Initially it was really hard, but then the generative AI came along, and then it became much easier, because nobody had enough money to train their models on the hyperscaler infrastructure, so they came to us. That's how we got some of the users. So it was like it was about the dissemination and outreach, making a really cool videos like the peasant one that you had, which was really cool in Slovenia. And then it's of course about the training. If you look at the partners, these are basically these are higher education institutes which already have included HPC in some of their curricula. We try to push also the Euro HPC, what was it called, HPC master program. Unfortunately, we haven't managed to find anybody else, but we still have 3 more years to go, and we're hoping to get somebody. So training, outreach, networking with the right people. I have this on other slides, and then trying to provide people with the proof of concept infrastructure, and finally helping them to get to the resources which could best, let's say, serve their needs in the best manner. So with regard to training, we looked at the number. Over 5 years, we organized over 100 different trainings with, I don't know, a bunch of people who attended. Looking at the last and the year before, we had over 60 different events that we attended, and last year we had over almost 500 participants on 44 different workshops. What are the workshops? So we are now trying to figure out how we're going to integrate with the whole Evita framework. And right now we have basically those basic HPC ones, how to access the HPC, how to use it, how to run the basic jobs, what's the batching system. So pretty much what every NCC has. And then we also invested some time to create the workshops around the different AI frameworks, like PyTorch, Ray, Dusk, and how to use the containers, which is really interesting for people who want to reuse different things. And then finally, we had some collaboration with the NVIDIA. They organize their workshops, and we have specific AI workshops, which is being held by some of the partners. And you can see some pictures that we actually helped them. So it's not just a story. With regards to support the collaboration with the other NCCs, given that since the beginning of EuroCC, it was, I think it was on Tina's slides, there's 33 of them. This today is basically collaboration with all of you from Slovenia and Cyprus. We still have Austria, and there's also collaboration with the edicts, and this was a really nice example. I don't have it here in slides, but we have 4 edicts in Croatia. We're actually partner of one of them, and we had a really rough start with regard to figure out what the state aid is and how it works. And this is something that we will need to figure out as an NCC and a phase 3, but this is not relevant, let's say. But with the AI for Health, they've basically focused on a health issue. We organized a hackathon, and like in your case, basically it was they in the end we had what was it? We had 14 teams. So they had synthetic data, so they prepared their framework and they optimized their algorithm that they were going to use. And then when we gave them the real data, we basically closed the whole environment. They couldn't go out, they couldn't copy the data. So basically, whatever they prepared, it was supposed to be ready. They had a week, and in the end, the best 3 teams actually got the financial reward. It was like a cascading fund coming from the edicts, and it was quite a success. I mean, I think in the beginning, in like a preparatory phase, they had over 100 teams applying, because everybody wanted to solve. It was related to the breast cancer, so it was a really nice collaboration. So we also had several proof of concept thingies. I don't have really cool pictures. My partners didn't give it to me. The one that I participated in was with the Croatian Conservation Institute, and it was all about. They tried to do the 3D imaging of a fontaine in the city of Dubrovnik. And then for me, it was like, come on, it's already there. What do you want to do a model? But if you go back 30 years in the past, they actually bombed the same thing. And their explanation is if you have a 3D model, you can recreate it if somebody bombs it. So it was actually a nice exercise. They did first they did something, I can't remember that model, but then they've hired a student who we gave him access to a larger amount of GPUs, and then he did the whole thing, and it was really cool. And then also we have one of the partners who come from south, from this Rijeka area. They collaborate a lot with local either industry or SMEs or public administration. So they have several use cases and they're in preparation. So I don't have a precise detail like my colleague had before. With regard to the access to resources, we had not that much success, I have to be honest. We got one regular Euro HPC, which was basically pushed by one of the partners of the NCC, and that required a lot of effort. We tried to go 3 times for the extreme one, and they said, okay, let's just go back to the regular. That's enough for you. I'm really happy to say that the same team participated in a Jupiter in the early phases, either a Jedi or Azure. And then we tried, because one of the big issue was when we talked to the SMEs, it was always like, yeah, I need the resources now. It's like, no, you need to wait for the end of the month, and we will onboard you to the benchmarking and development, and then you use that time to prove that you scale well, and then we get you to the regular. Then somewhere in half of that thingy, we basically lose them. And this was one of the complaints coming from all NCCs is if you want to onboard people and you don't have national EuroHPC or the other national tier 1 or tier 2 or whatever, it's really difficult because the SMEs really like basically SLA saying, I will get this amount of resources starting from now up to then. And basically, the only carrot that we could offer, it's free. So we actually went with the exercise. So we were complaining and complaining, and finally they opened those AI access for the SMEs, and we tried to push one of the companies through that one, and we failed. But the upside was that the same company basically when they applied, they killed the whole call, and they basically rebranded it for researchers, but they opened the AI factory ones. So the same company went to the playground access, and they were really happy. They gained access to the Mare Nostrum, and they were also in the area of robotic solutions. So they were optimizing their little robots doing something. And then on the national resources, we had this collaboration I already mentioned, and there's the CFD application for optimizing something, boats, or I can't remember the precise details. We will add them in this really nice use cases booklet that EuroCC provides, but it was the CFD area. And then the outreach dissemination, similar to the Sling Days, we found that the best thing is if you organize an event which includes lunch. Not too much talk and not too technical, not too complicated, and then people would come and then they would connect with each other. Then on these events you can usually get representatives from the relevant ministries, probably not as successful as you can in here, but if you get somebody from a ministry and then you get people coming from edX or representative of companies, and for example last week this was really big success because they connected, they realized how they can basically utilize some of the resources which they were not aware of. So I would say the biggest success of our NCC was the organizing. So we had the third event this year. I mean, it sounds like a little bit lame. So what's your biggest success? I organized 2 or 3 day event with lunch. But it's the people are really happy, and based on the feedback that we received, they were really happy with connecting. And of course, participating in local events, AI to Future, which we started basically immediately because they wanted to hear how they can access all these free resources at some other events that we have in Croatia. So I think I'm almost done. In the conclusion, SRCE has been providing the infrastructure for a long time. So we're kind of hoping we'll continue doing that at least until I reach my pension. And then with the advanced computing, we have experience, and I mean, we've been recognized in the community, and we basically know how to solve their problems. We help them with the workshops, and we go to their workshops, they come to ours, and so forth. With regard to the NCC, so the phase 3 is going to start in April next year, and basically the EuroHPCJU has requested that we focus on SMEs more and ditch the scientific community because they are already capable of using HPCs by themselves, and do a little bit of public administration, but as well what we think is that we should use the Evita. For example, I mean, in the past we've used the COEs because we invited them to give us specific workshops in expertise that we do not have by ourselves. Because I mean, the COEs have already, some of them have reached the phase 3, so these are some really competent people, and gaining that amount of knowledge on the NCC level is, well, it's not really possible. So trying to either push our people to go to their workshops or bringing them on our events so they can give workshops, we recognize that's an interesting thing. So basically the Evita, and trying to do more tailored workshops, similar to what the colleague from Cyprus said before. This is something that we're planning to do in the phase 3. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Emir Imamagić. Any questions for him? Just raise your hand so that I can see you, because it's, there, Andreas Linder from Austria.
Just out of curiosity, how many of your events, workshops, hackathons, trainings and stuff were held in English? Roughly.
None.
Roughly none.
No, wait. I'm wrong. So the workshops that we organized with the other NCCs and COEs, they were in English. So we had a collaboration with the Max COE and the Slovenian partners. So that one was in English. We had a collaboration with NCC France, where because we within the NCC, I have to admit we don't have training in quantum computing, so we brought them. So this was in English. We do have basic HPC, which is in English, which we provide to users from Croatia who are not well fluent in Croatian. And then the bits of these annual events were in English. We were thinking of doing it in English, like this one, but this is something that we might reach or in a year or two. And everything else was basically in Croatian, because it was focused on local users. We did participate also in other events from other people, like today, which were in English, but they were not organized by us.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question? Otherwise, because we are just ahead of time a little bit, we have to hurry up. We have 3 more presentations, and